Welcome to Conversations with Tom Shorkey. Conversations explores the past, the present, and the future of the communities in which we live through the eyes of interesting individuals. Now let's join our host, Tom Shorkey.
Welcome to Conversations. I'm your host for today's program, Tom Shorkey. With us today, another interesting local guest, another one of our guests who was St. Clair High School graduate. The year will remain nameless. And if you would have asked her at that time, well, do you think 30 years later you'll be living and working in your hometown of St. Clair? The answer was probably not a chance. But we do have one of our illustrious citizens, former student at St. Clair High School, who has built a business in our community. Our guest today on Conversations is Judy Shaune. Welcome to the show, Judy.
Thank you for having me.
For our audience at home, Judy is the owner of St. Clair Realty. It's located right across from the St. Clair Inn. But we're going to have plenty of time to talk about real estate. Let's give our audience a little bit of background. You were what, a third or fourth grader when your family moved to St. Clair?
Yep, I was in third grade.
And how many brothers and sisters came with you at that time?
I have 5 sisters.
So 6 girls.
Yes.
Mom and Dad. Tell us a little bit about Mom and Dad.
Mom and Dad were just amazing people. They've passed since, and when they brought us to this community, we were originally coming from the Grosse Pointe area, and Dad really wanted us to have more of a foundation of realistic personalities, realistic expectations. So he said, nope, the girls have to go up to a farming community, and St. Clair is where we landed.
Oh, great. Chuck was your dad, correct?
Yes.
What was your mom's name?
Nancy.
And Nancy, what did Nancy do besides keep? I heard that these 6 girls were fairly close. How many years separated all 6 of you?
7.5.
7.5 years?
Yes.
You were all in that?
Yes, all 6 of us are within 7.5 years. We always used to tease my mom and dad and say they got an automatic train ticket to heaven just surviving us.
Yeah. Well, and on top of that, I know your mom I can see what she did with most of her time with having 6 kids at home at the same time. But what else did your mom do in St. Clair?
You know, my mom was an amazing artist. She got her degree in teaching. So she had spent some time doing catechism for St. Mary's. And then through the different art people like Jim Clary that she had met, she got involved with the Art Association. And Mr. Moore, really wanted her to get involved, so she became a chairman of the art fair. For many years, years. Yeah.
Now, the 6 sisters, are any left in the area, or are they off to the 4 winds?
Well, my sister is still in the area. She lives in China Township. And I have 2 that are kind of, one in Novi, one in Chesterfield, one in Traverse City, and my oldest sister is in Texas.
Great. So you graduate from St. Clair High School. Now, it appeared that you had a plan in mind that was embedded deep into your genes. Tell us about Grandpa and your dad and how in the world this real estate thing was bubbling before you even got out of high school.
Well, my grandfather came to Detroit when the Fords were developing their factories, and he came as a patent attorney. But when he got here, he saw the immigrants and that there wasn't much housing. In fact, it was very difficult to get even something built that, unfortunately, back then there was no regulation or laws regarding builders or real estate sales. So in some foresight, he thought he would buy land and develop it. And because the immigrants were very clannish, he actually put in their title work that this street had to be all Irish, and this street had to be all Polish, and this street had to be all Italian. And he would sell to these immigrants at reasonable prices and made sure that their rights were protected. And in doing that, he ended up going to the legislator in Lansing and working on developing the Real Estate Licensing Act and the Builders Licensing Act. So that would help and protect some of these immigrants that didn't speak much English and would lose all their money on deposits on no contracts and all that kind of stuff.
So then his dad, his son, your dad, Chuck Babcock, kind of continued along the...
Yeah, he had 2 boys and 2 girls. Both of his girls ended up getting their real estate license, and so did my dad and my Uncle Jim. And my dad and my Uncle Jim started developing their own real estate, and what they had thought of was kind of like condominiums before condominiums were even known of. It was called cooperative apartments. So these clans that were on a street that was all Irish, as they became empty nesters, they didn't need those houses. They were too big for them. So they recognized that if they took that clan and built an apartment building and called it a cooperative, then all those Irish people that they were great friends with that lived in the neighborhood could move right in there with economical living and be able to, retire and have their glory days in an area that they were familiar with all their neighbors.
Well, and for the audience at home, I wanted to set the table with the background for Judy, because when you graduated from St. Clair High School, you went off to Eastern Michigan to study what?
Business and real estate.
How old were you when you got your real estate license?
I got my salesperson's license at 18 and my broker's license at 21.
For our audience, tell us the difference between what do you have to do to be a broker as compared to a real estate salesperson?
Right, you have to get some experience. So you have to have so many hours of experience, and then you have to fulfill the requirements of taking these classes and so many hours of classes and then pass the state test.
So how did, okay, you're an Eastern graduate, you concentrated on real estate, family's been in that business for a while.
Right.
You're living in St. Clair. When did St. Clair Realty get formed or show up?
Well, at the beginning of my career, I did a lot of commercial real estate. And then my dad at that time was acquiring apartment communities and doing rehabs, and then we would sell them. So I spent most of my career in the beginning doing commercial real estate. And when my husband and I decided to go to Florida for a couple of years, I got my Florida broker's license and did some commercial real estate down there. But when I came back, we decided to come back to St. Clair because I missed my sisters. I missed my nieces and nephews. I wanted to go to their band practices or their, dance recitals. So we came back, and at that time, my children were teenagers. And Jim and I had a long talk, and I said, hey, we've got to be home when they get home after school. The best bet is for me to start working in residential real estate. So talking with a couple of my mentors, my dad, of course, and Mr. Murphy, Doug Murphy, and Judge John Cummings, who's passed, and Mary Jane Hay, different people like that. They were all like, do it, go ahead and start it. And my business at that time, the name of it was Babcock Investment Limited, after my maiden name. And I did research and found out that no one had chosen St. Clair Realty in St. Clair County on St. Clair River, near Lake St. Clair. So I scooped up that name and started St. Clair Realty.
What is, with your real estate firm, what's the most challenging part about selling real estate today?
I think today is finding the right fit for people. There's so much home shopping network channels and HGTVs where expectations of buyers can be very, very high because they're seeing, wow, look, this can be this beautiful. Or they may think that they can flip a house into something that beautiful. And the expectations can lead them down a path that we need to redirect to get them into a realistic view where, yeah, that's a show, and they do that. The price point that they're saying they're doing at it may not be the price point that you can actually do that. And so we have to work through to try to get people to be, find a home that actually fits for them, that'll work for them, that they're not overwhelmed with repairs, or they've overfinanced because they bought too high.
What would be the most rewarding aspect of your job?
I think it's when we match buyers to a house that they can turn into their home, and seeing their excitement or their kids' excitement when they're like, wow, I really, really, really love this. I can see, the rest of my life here in this home. And it's just so rewarding to see such joy and happiness, and they're not over-financed and they're not overwhelmed with work that needs to be done.
How is real estate, selling real estate now, 2019, compared to 30 years ago or so when you were
Well, when I started, I did a lot of commercial real estate. But back then, of course, interest rates were crazy. 11% was a good rate.
Yeah.
You were happy to get it if you could get it at 11%. And back then, too, there was some construction going on, and perhaps the building trades were not top quality at that point. So it's changed a lot where people now recognize the quality of a construction of a home, and they want a better constructed home. Of course, financing is much easier now. And I think with our recession that we had in 2008, buyers are smarter. They're not trying to get both, if they're dual income, to spend every penny of their dual income to get into a house. They saw what happened with the recession and all the short sales and foreclosures. So now buyers are interesting to see that they're willing to say, no, let's buy this on one of the dual incomes so that we can afford a lifestyle along with the home that they want.
Now, and with the internet, do people typically call the real estate office and say, I want to look at these 3 houses that I saw online? Or do they say, I want to look at these 3 houses because I drove by and saw a sign in the yard?
Yeah, nope, they usually always go by online. I just saw this online, it just got listed, I want to go see it. And of course, we would like to see them drive by it first, but in the excitement and the fact that our inventory is so low right now, we'll jump up and go show them that house right away, even though we'll say, hey, just want to warn you, maybe some of the houses in the area are not as good shape as what this one is. So it gives them a little heads up that.
So, and as of today, the real estate market remains fairly strong in the community. I mean, if it's a nice house, decent, correctly priced, that it will sell relatively fast?
Yes, if it's what we call good inventory, which means it's clean, it's in good shape, it has some of today's conveniences, and it's priced right, we've seen multiple offers on the same house, and some of the houses go for higher than what they were originally asking.
Can you, in Michigan, entertain multiple offers, or do you have to kind of exhaust the offer you have before you can look at another one?
You can entertain multiple offers if the first offer presented, the seller says no. So the seller says, I'm not going to accept that offer. At that point, you can go back and say, okay, any offers anybody has, bring them all in because the seller's looking for highest and best. So once he stopped that negotiating, or she, then you can go ahead and initiate the other offers.
I have read, and I don't know if it's accurate or not, but they say it's harder for people, whether they're first-time buyer or buyers or maybe second time, if you have to wait on a mortgage, that so many houses are sold, I don't know, for cash, or you may lose a house if you have to have a contingency either to sell your house or to get financing. Is that a problem or not?
It can be. It really comes down to the price point. And although we always say cash is king because you don't have to worry about that borrower having a last-minute glitch in their credit where all of a sudden the bank says, no, we're not going to loan you any money. Or perhaps the house doesn't appraise, then you have to deal with, again, borrower doesn't have any additional cash to supplement the difference, then they can't go ahead and buy. So we always say cash is king because it doesn't come with the potential of glitches. But if they go ahead and buy with a mortgage, you're still getting that cash.
Yeah.
You just don't have to worry about all the contingency possibilities that can go wrong.
If you could, we have people watching our show today, Judy, that are thinking spring is coming and they'd like to put their house on the market. If you could tell people, do one thing before you put the for sale sign on, what would that one thing be?
I would say start boxing up your stuff. Buyers don't mind seeing boxes in the garage because it actually gets them excited, the fact that you're going to move out and they could get possession sooner. And going through a house, it's amazing how quickly we acquire things, so many things, and have to try to store those things. So clearing out some of those things and packing them up and sticking them in the garage allows a buyer to really see how deep is that closet, how long is that closet really, how much space do they have if they pull up in this cabinet. So I would recommend box up as much as you can without making it look stark, and and get ready for your buyers to come in to see their stuff.
And I would add, before the Realtor came out with their camera, empty your waste baskets and don't leave the towels hanging over the
And
shower
close the
curtain.
toilet lids.
Yeah. That's good. What, you've seen a lot of people have been involved in real estate, and some people very successfully part-time, because whether it's children or other things. But you have seen not so good salespeople, average, and some really good real estate salespeople. What characteristics does a really good salesperson have?
You know, I think there's a misnomer out there that real estate people are like car salesmen. And the bad real estate people may not know the law as well as they should. And instead of, when a complication comes up, saying, hold on, let me find out for you, they'll fudge in the information, or they'll push a buyer or a seller into something when may not be the best thing for them. So the first quality I think you have to have is good character. You have to be honest. You have to be willing to put your buyer or your seller above you collecting that commission. Because the reality is, a good realtor will get tons of commissions down the line, because once they've had a good experience with you, they'll come back to you and you'll represent them again in another deal. And eventually you can make more money than trying to manipulate a situation for just that one time to get one big paycheck.
And in fairness to our local car dealers, we had Bill McDonald on the show a month or two ago, and I asked him the same question. And he said that if you go back and look at the tape of Bill, he said the exact same thing Judy did, that car salespeople, to be successful, are straightforward and honest. And he said they still in that industry live down some of the reputations from the 50s and the 60s car lots, but and I think the same thing in real estate. If you have
It's true, yeah.
somebody upfront, straight, with the right answers.
Right. And someone that's going to be willing to work hard for you, that keeps looking to trying to find the right match for whatever the needs are, whatever the finances are, with the right home. And you know, someone who's willing to take the time to do all that.
Who would you consider has been influential to you in your life?
Well, I think my mom and dad, you know, first and foremost. And one of the biggest things they taught with us girls was, you know, the golden rules with character and being forthright and working hard and not being afraid to work hard. Some other people would be, you know, Doug Murphy. He's been just a part of my life since before I was born. And he's a very successful businessman and always has great insight. In fact, he helped me acquire the Hayes building, where our office is right now. And I would say Judge Cummings too. He was a great man, and he spent time to share good ethical, you know, background talks and lead a real straight line, and how successful you can be by doing that.
That's great. What, speaking of your building, and I had Marcelo Costin on a couple of weeks ago, and simply Marcella is in the front of your building now, and you're in the middle of it. But the bittersweet thing is you are directly across from the St. Clair Inn, which we go, well, what a great spot for her store and for a real estate company. Except the way the new construction works, it looks like your driveway is fenced off. How do people get to St. Clair Realty now?
Well, the end result will be that we'll have our driveway off of Vine Street. Part of that is that the inn and the engineers for M29 recognize that hopefully with the traffic flow from the business the inn will be drawing in, that pulling onto M29 can be a very big challenge, especially if you're going to go north. So they worked through a process that Vine would be a better way to come in. Unfortunately, right now, coming in from Vine would make you hit one of the tractors or the different equipment bulldozers that are there. So right now we have to go down 2nd Street, and you have to hang onto your steering wheel because it's a little bit of a ride to come down that little hill and then across over to where our parking area is.
Okay.
But you can get there, you just have to follow the signs.
And hopefully not that much longer.
Right, they say by spring the Vine will be open, and so we should be using that directly.
Community involvement. I know you're involved in so many different things, but highlight a couple of things that you do in this community.
Well, one of my favorite things is at Emmanuel Lutheran Church, I do weekday school, and that's a great opportunity for kids after school to get a little experience of faith and play some games, eat some snacks, and I just enjoy them. The age group is from 5-year-olds to 5th graders. So that's one of my favorite things I get to do on Wednesdays during the school year. And then I'm also a part of Rotary. St. Clair Rotary has done a phenomenal job of supporting local businesses, charities. It goes on as far as education, and I just love being a part of Rotary. I'm also a part of the Riverview Credit Union. I'm on the board of directors. I work with the City of St. Clair on the Board of Review for assessing city taxes. In my whole office, we're all a team, and we try to support so many different things in the community we do baskets. And the baskets will have maybe a $50 gift card to the River Crab or Anita's, a bottle of wine, some wine glasses, and some trinkets, just to try to support fundraisers that are going on in our area.
Great. Now, and we talked family a little bit, mom and dad and sisters, but we haven't got to your family yet.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your family.
Well, I'm married. I've been married 30 years this be August, and we have 2 children, Desmond and Allison. My husband has his real estate license, as well as my son Desmond and Allison. Although they're not particularly practicing real estate all the time, Desmond does, and Allison helps me a ton with my marketing. So they work on the side as well as going to school to get their master's right now. They're helping to provide St. Clair Realty with some great exposure and marketing techniques. And my husband, of course, is always there to put up a sign for me, especially when the ground's frozen and I can't pound it in.
Wash those windows if necessary.
Right. We kind of all work together to help St. Clair Realty keep rolling.
And Desmond was Central Michigan and Allison's at U of M, is that?
Correct. Yep.
Judy, you've been part of this community since you were in high school, and you've got a wonderful business, and you're involved in so many things. What I'd like you to do is about a 20-second commercial on why somebody should want to live in St. Clair, Michigan.
Well, St. Clair, Michigan, I think is truly about community. One of the most beautiful things about our area is that our locals seem to know each other. We care about each other, we ask each other how our day is, we take a moment to smile at someone, hold a door open, and it gives you a strong sense of what a small community, caring community can be. So living here is great to raise your children. People are going to keep an eye out for your kids besides you keeping an eye out for them. It's at an excellent school system. I think it's one of the best in the state. Of course, my kids graduated, my sister's kids. Yeah. And they all went on to do great things in their careers. And I think that the community itself, right now, especially our downtown, is developing into such a fun place where you can walk to explore, whether it's Menina's or it's Warwater, depending on, or you just want to get a smoothie. Yeah. There's great restaurants that are coming in. Drifters has been a great asset, and I know there's some other restaurants coming in. So it's going to be a great community for evenings or weekend entertainment, as well as, walking down to the Voyager and then strolling. Now you can walk that whole boardwalk all the way down to the inn area. It's going to be a vibrant community. It's a great place to live, and it's a fun, friendly place. And
I think you just did a stellar job of a commercial for our community. For our listeners at home, I hope you've enjoyed today's show with Judy Shaune, the owner of St. Clair Realty. But as you heard from Judy, it's a lot more than just putting a sign in the yard. She and her family have been a long-time part of this community and will continue to be. And on behalf of Paul Dingeman, myself, Cable Channel 6, thanks, Judy, for being our guest today.
Thank you for having me.
You've been watching Conversations with Tom Shorkey. Conversations explores the past, the present, and the future of the communities in which we live through the eyes of interesting individuals. If you have an idea for a future conversation, please contact us at www.watchctv.org. Thanks for watching Conversations with Tom Shorkey.